Ceramics peoples, we are back. Guess what? When that last video edited, I was making these little hand patties, and that was 24 hours ago, almost on the dot. And my battery ran out, but that's okay, because I think normally you probably wouldn't have gotten this far on a first timer anyway. We still got this mask. He's looking good. It's still soft, and I just left him on the clay, and you can see, or on this wood, and you can see how, like, where the clay was. It's been pulling moisture out of the clay. So, a lot. That's why having this plastic back here is a smart move, because it keeps it super tight or super wet. Yada yada. So I was making these patties because I want to put some cheeks on this guy. Thought he needed a little bit of facial structure. So no matter where you're at this point, I'm just gonna scratch these up, scratch the cheeks up. And I want to do details in this one. I'm gonna finish this, and I'm gonna be expressive about it. And this is the one with the twist. If you watch this video, in the end, it's 2020 right now, and I got a little twist, right? So I just literally smushed some silly cheeks on here. Wet fingers, as always. It's our sandpaper, and I'm gonna start blending that in. And you probably saw, but I scored and slipped. I'm going in. And I'm just going to blend those cheekbones, those cheeks, those high cheeks in. They look silly at first, but they really help create some facial structure. And I think I said in my original video, or my first one, I like to make stuff that's a little more cartoony, a little more expressive, a little silly. Puffy cheeks are part of that. Big features, big fun features. It's happening though right now with this guy, so I'm going to blend that in a little tighter. I'm getting in my fingers in there. I'm smearing. So I'm roughing it out right now. I was talking about roughing it out in the beginning. And then that will change as I go. This is the part when I need some fast forward action. So you may done. Just kidding. All right, so one thing I want to work on this video is finishing the eyes, right? Putting some actual eyeballs in there and putting some hair on of some sort and dealing with the backside, which would be flipping it over and making it hangable. Because right now it's just like a big, big round kind of upside down bowl with a face on it. And we could keep going, but it gave him a little more of a facial structure up here. So this is how much clay I still have from that original ball. I'm going to pop off two. Should we go pretty big? Should we go medium for these eyeballs? We'll go average. Now, clearly, this is when there's no right or wrong. You could almost leave the. I was looking back at the pictures of this, and I was looking at the eyes. Yeah, you could come in here and almost draw eyes. You know what I mean? And it would be pretty cool. You could come in here, sort of take a pen, mark those in. I created some pretty nice browage already. So imagine coming in here, really cleaning that up. It's almost like putting makeup on. You want to darken areas, lighten areas. You can start to add lines, features, right? And you can see what could start to happen right there, right? Start to make it a little more realistic, right? So, but in the nature of 3D. So that's a drawn on, texture, which could be cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to challenge you to create some three-dimensional actual eyeballs. So sometimes you go and look at these old Greek sculptures. Oh, I got two. You go and look at these old Greek sculptures, and all those white marble sculptures, a lot of them were painted, hundreds of years ago. Hundreds of years ago, not thousands. And the paint has worn off clearly over those hundreds of years of being outside. So sometimes their eyes are you see the eyeballs, and they're very they're just blank, They have this eyeball, but all the features are there. So that's kind of what I'm going to be creating. Those are a little on the large. I'm going to peel a little off. And I'm just rolling, making a couple milk duds, and that's a perfect circle, right? I want to give them a little bit of an almond shape, right? So I pushed those eye sockets in on that very first, making these guys the very first way. And I'm not going to score and slip those because I'm actually going to kind of modify or cover them. dip this little broken, this is a dried out marker, old Sharpie. I'm just going to kind of wiggle smush. These are going to be crazy looking at first, but you got to have the faith. Again, it's all about believing in the future of what this could look like. And sometimes that is going to be a little crazy. So again, more clay here. One of my coils, one of my classic, like rolling it in, boom, pop out a little coil. I'm going to give him a little extra brow here. And those eyeballs are a little big, but that's going to be fun, I think, for a demo especially. So 2 on the top, you can see how it's already, kind of giving that shadow, and 2 on the bottom. So I'm creating the eye socket, right? The top and the bottom. I could leave it just like this right here, and that's pretty cool looking, but I'm pushing it all the way so you can see all the possibilities. So I did not score and slip there. You could, you probably should. We're moving here. Got my knife. Remember, I don't know if you remember this, and this is hopefully a good shot for it, but I'm blending half of this, and I'm leaving half. Sorry if my head is going to be in the way. I'm going to flip this. I'm blending. Just half. And that creates a nice bond. This clay is pretty damp still, even after being wrapped up overnight. And that is ensuring that I'm going to make these guys stick together real well. Crazy looking right now. You're like, what is he doing? You just wait. So that's the roughing it out, right? So we got these kind of roughed out, and now I'm going to start and smear wet fingers. This is wood. I'd say go get some sandpaper. We got wet fingers right now. You can see hopefully also it's like becoming like not just a flat drawn on face, but it's got some like an eye socket right here. And it's still a little aggressive, but so I'll kind of smush some of it down. I'm going to work real fast. 2 wet fingers, 2 wet hands, 2 for Tuesday. Even though it's Thursday, I'm glad it's Thursday. That means one more day, kids, till the weekend. We all love the weekend. Although the weekends blend into one these days. So, I'm losing a little bit of my awesome details of those eyeballs here, but that is all right. I also noticed that I need to take and I'm going to be a little bit crazier. I know that this one got a little bit too large. I do like how it ends up right in here. I think that's a good spot right in here. I don't know if you can see that, but I like how the brow kind of like blends into the nose, like right there. Right? It becomes one. It's more natural, but also kind of cartoonish. Now, if you lose your details like I did, and probably should have waited longer, but who's going to do that? You can go back in here and draw, Even you can go back in with your knife, kind of pull away, kind of pull down, make that socket a little wider. This is when some of those tools at school would come in handy. If you have anything like this, a stick, this could be a popsicle stick, but it's got like a little bit of a flared edge to it. I can get in there. Make this a little bit nicer. I'm gonna get in here and work a little bit. I need to stand up and get on top of this. See what's happening here. So I'm okay with losing. I kind of like poke those holes in there just to like show you some stuff. And like as I'm drawing here, I'm realizing, or as I'm working here, I'm realizing I'm being too gentle about those little eyeballs. So I'm actually gonna smear them out a little bit and create a little bit of that brow and come back in with my fingers or my fingernails or a tool like this and really create the difference. Fingers, right? Inside there. Like I got that going on again. And this is where like you take away, you add. I mean, this is sculpting, right? You put a little more on, you take a little away. You add some more. You take it a little away. Right now, he's kind of has like the round kind of look. If I wanted to have him be a little more, I don't know, a little more flared out like that. If I want him to be a little angrier, I'll bring him in. You know what I mean? Like that. So the brow is, a very expressive part of any face, including your own. So now, wet, damp sponge. They dampen up like, here's the squeeze. It's gone mostly. And I get in here. I'm actually going to rip all of this because I want a smaller piece. I want to get in here, kind of clean up a lot of this. Right now it's kind of fingerprinted up and smeared. Look at this sponge will just clean everything up real nice. So I can come back in. Now I was using the back of that Sharpie, which is cool. I press pretty hard. What if I just press lightly? You get a nice like little light touch there, right? But what if I use, this is like a smaller Sharpie. One end has kind of like that shape right there, and the other end has that rounded shape with a little dot. Let's try the dot. Harder. A wiggle twist. Harder and a wiggle twist as it pulls out. They're getting there. They're all right. And again, this is where you would want to, and I'm gonna, hit it with a hairdryer, stiffen it up, and you can tighten this stuff up later. Right? Make him a little angry. So we got a face happening here, right? And those, I'm gonna go in there a little deeper. You learn as you go. So this is one of those things where it's wet, so I can just smear it. I think these need to be, this eye socket, this eyeball needs to dry up if I'm going to do any of like the detail work on it. Like adding, like, coming in here and adding a little bit of some lashes on the inside. All right, to be continued on those guys, because I feel like I'm just smearing them, and that's a great point. Like sometimes you got to walk away. But I'm getting some features going, some eyeballs, and you're gonna, when you come and glaze or paint this or glaze it, I'll be able to paint that area white. I could drop a little dot of glaze inside there. It could be really cool to create that. So, boom, this could be pretty close to done, right? We're getting there. Ears, right? Big ears, small ears, I don't know. We're gonna just roll some clay. And this is not proportionate as a normal natural human. It's a little bit out of proportion, but that's all right. I hope yours are. And I'm taking this, by the way, this medallion, another medallion, and I just cut like a circle in half. And it could be that simple, right? I could kind of like bend them closer to you to have more of like that look. I could sort of bend them back. Generally, though, if you touch your eyebrow and touch the top of your ear right here, right? Like your eye and the bottom of your ear kind of end up at your nose and the middle of your eye almost, or your eyebrow. So I'll take this kind of halfer, and that's actually, they're too big. So I'm gonna do that over, taking a little clay off. It was a little too big. Roll up another ball, smushing. Then we end up with this guy, Pancake Special. Right, and they can come in here, kind of make it more earish. Right, it's like making spoons from your original. Just kind of giving it around. You can you could make, like all the parts of the ear. You can make Spock ears. You can, whatever, bend that in. You could work for a while on making the ears. Google up some ear. Look at somebody's ear and be like, hey, can I get your ear, mom, dad? Check out the ear. You could come in here. A lot of times there's usually some sort of an extra line in here that you could blend in, make more ear shapage stuff. But long story short, they're going right here, right? That's all that matters to me. He's got some funny ears. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Beautiful ears. So, back to this guy. Remember this day one? It's stiffened up. Like I can hold it and it breaks. Remember I was talking about short earlier when you can twist the clay and it just breaks like that? That is a little bit on the dry. But if we wanted to give him, he's kind of looking like Got like a Saint hat. Or maybe a mohawk. Oh, this guy's more of a mohawk guy, isn't he? He's a mohawker. We might be able to use this. This stuff is a little stiff for what I want to do right now. Still working with this clay. And this is the trick on everything you're doing, is having fun, taking some risks, trying some things out. So if I take this, right, and I'm going to give him a mohawk about like there. Okay, so I just made that general shape. That's going to be his mohawk. I'm not going to leave it like that. Got this. Maybe I just give this some pre-texture. Cut it, slice it. I'm only going like partially the way through. I'm not going all the way through. But I want it to look like some spiky, funky hair. And maybe on the tip, the top, the tippity top up here, I will go all the way through. So that when I bend it and flare it, it's got a nice look. Right? So there's the sun, there's the top. Finish that other side a little bit. So if I bend this, it kind of breaks apart a little bit, right? Let's get this. It's a little bit long. We're gonna take a little bit of that off, and all of a sudden, Mr. Mo is hawking it. All right, whoop, mohawk down. All right, so classic. Where are we? Scoring, slipping. Scoring. I'm just going to guesstimate. He's going right down the middle here. Just breaking up that surface a little bit. I already slipped. It's coming in. Last of the Mohawkians. Boom. And you can come back in on the side and touch that up a little bit. I had no plans to make a mohawk. It's just things happen, right? And same concept. We could put scraps like that on all sides. You could fill up a whole head of hair like this, you know what I mean? And do that same concept to create more hair all the way across this guy. You know what I'm saying? To get more hair. Another great way, I'm just going to rip this off. Oh, man, I kind of don't want to rip off that mohawk. That mohawk is sweet. That works good with him, right? He's got a nice little flair to it as well. But let's just say you wanted to do a different type of hair on this. There's a lot of ways to do hair. Right? You could kind of, I'm going to ratty this up, make it look more like hair. Where's my fork? Here's a fork. We're going to ratty this up, make it look like real hair. As real as clay hair can be. And I'm kind of roughing up the edges. Pre-rough. And all of a sudden, it didn't do what I wanted too much. I think what he needs is more like that, yeah. But you can imagine like putting hair on. You could even bring it. I'll leave that. Take this. I'm gonna chop this down because this guy needs some chops, right? All the cool guys have. All the cool guys got lamb chops going on, right? So all of a sudden, this is funny. Now another way to do hair. I think I showed you my extruder once. Where's that guy? Doesn't even matter. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna roll a ton of coils, pushing him out of the way. Extruder would. Oh, I see it now. The extruder would look really good. But if you had a million coils, small, medium, big like this, you could give him the actual the hair look, like bringing it down through, like the rose, right? And you have some going across the eyes. But you can imagine how you can build that up, a lot of it, right? And being really fast and rough and just giving ideas. But if you built that up and had some hair coming across, and if it was layered extra, you'll have like a nice coming across, even the eyeballs right there. So we're going back to the Mo though. And this is the kicker on this assignment. I said there was going to be a trick in the end, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this yet. I haven't overthought it, but it is 2020, and this is going to be mask. This is going to be mask 2.0 2020 version, right? So what does that mean? It's going to be a mask on a mask, right? So I could clean this up. I'm being really rough just because I want to get through some things for you guys. But let's say we want to put a COVID-19 efficient proof mask on this guy. I know I did all those details and I'm going to hide a lot of them, but that you don't have to. By the way, I'm throwing out a slab right now. So I just kind of smack this out with some extra clay that's sitting around. And then I kind of toss it. Kind of toss it. Kind of toss it. And it's stretching right at myself. This is where having clay or a piece of wood down is nice, a piece of cardboard or something. We could take this. I'm gonna cut some strips. COVID strips. Here we go. Across the face. Across the face. Oh, I'm not gonna have enough, but we're gonna make it enough. Again, I'm like working fast and rough, but if I cut that guy off there, clean those up, all of a sudden, this guy has a nice mask on him, right? And it's COVID times. Maybe, and this is where I want you to get a little sculpture. You could open this up and show features, right? You can make commentary. Maybe I did some like strips like that, but maybe I'll go back to the original clay. And this is where, your grade and the art content is going to come from. Right? I don't got time to wait anymore. I'm just going fast and hard here. And let's say, it looks like you need about the whole thing. And you can get super creative with this. If I wanted to create maybe some sort of pattern or texture on this to be different than everything else, I got my classic little fish skin onion bag kind of stuff. Smush it in, peel it out. It's got a nice pattern on there. Maybe we'll put that across here, right? And all of a sudden, or like right across here, or make your point somehow. And this needs to be a little longer and bigger. That's my struggle. His nose is so ginormous. Maybe we'll give him a little mask smush. So, how cool is it going to be to have a show of masked masks, right? And yeah, I like to see like the details. You can make some commentary. I'm leaving it pretty generic and up to you. I'm imagining like if I was to eventually, and now I'm going to pull this out, right? And there's that mouth right there behind here. So I could rip it open and have like a tongue sticking out, right? We're all sick of COVID. Here's the tongue. And I've seen people being silly and doing stuff like this, but you could have some sort of like commentary like this. We're sick of the mask, right? Make some sort of like fun jokes about it, or lighten it up a little bit, or maybe it's more on a danger level, as in maybe your mask doesn't have to be an actual mask like that, but we're gonna spike this guy. So his total mask area is 100% spiked, or it's got coronavirus growing all over the mask area. And again, being rough, you can be really sort of like creative with this problem that I'm giving you to solve. You're gonna cover this mask with a mask, right? And the last thing I'll say is when it's done, I sort of like got ahead of myself, but we're gonna need to drill a hole in the side here to hang it some way, right? So whether we do that style, right, and then I would have some wires going through, so I just kind of poked right there, right, and imagine from the inside we'll run a wire, or And this is where I would stiffen it up a little bit, make a soft little spot. I don't want to damage my front, but this is the other way. When it's stiffer, like it's really wobbly right now. I would want to hit this with a hairdryer, but this is the other way. These are big enough. You could score here. All right. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to make these little half rounds, these little rainbows. I'll make 2 of them. 1. 2. And get in here. Pretty close to flush. And if you lose your hole, you can kind of poke it in. I'm going to make sure that is going through. Another rainbow over here. We're going to dip it in some slip. Same kind of spot edge right across. Don't put out too high on the top, and just make sure that those are open enough. Put my finger back here, kind of poking through here to make sure that one I got a little lost a little bit. This guy's going through clean. So imagine this is fired. That can sit, when I put a board on here, it'll sit flush. Those guys are below, right? And right now, I'm not doing it, but I would come in here and clean all this back side up. It's been under that bag. You don't want anything that's sharp or rugged. We are going to hang these on the wall. And when this stiffens up, okay, so right now, you can take that carefully. And I hope you can see that I just made these 2 holes. So we would run a wire across these 2 things so that we could hang it on a wall, really clean and nice. It wouldn't fall off. We got COVID Spike Man with his tongue sticking out. You know, this is really in the rough phase right now. I mean, it's sloppy and gooey. What I'm going to do is probably hit this with a hairdryer. But it's cool because you can also, when things get floppy, you can change the shape and form of it. He's got some good features that I could play with and have fun. I didn't mean to do a tongue or a mohawk, but I'm kind of loving it. If you lose some of the roundness of his forehead, you can stick this back in. You know what I mean? And like rework your situation, everything. So these are going to be hanging on the wall. We're going to have a show of art. I'm about like, I don't know, to here, that's about like 9-10 inch mask by hand width. You know what I mean? So it's bigger than, when I put my 2 fingers together, it's bigger than that. It's all the way my whole hand and a half. So it's a hand and a half tall. And this is super clean and plain and basic. I could play around and do all kinds of cool design work on it to give it some texture, some pattern. So you can imagine how this could glaze up really cool, especially with my washes and my slips. I'm going to let this guy dry up, either hit him with a hairdryer, or I'll come back in like an hour or 2 or tomorrow morning and clean him up, tighten those eyeballs up. I can put some slip and glaze on him, but I'm kind of digging my abstract mask. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.